Recently, drones have been popping up in all sorts of places. They fly over federally owned land to keep an eye on wildlife. They hover over farmland to monitor fields. And in the future, they may just be coming to the happiest place on Earth. Disney has applied for 3 patents for unmanned aircraft to use in its parks. The company is keeping mum about its plans, but Pepperdine law professor Greg McNeal took a peek at the patent applications, and he joins us now. Welcome back, Greg.
Thanks for having me.
Drones at Disneyland. I got to say, we were pretty excited when we heard about this. When you and others in the drone world got wind of this, what was the reaction like?
So just a few months ago, back in May, I was at the trade show for the drone industry, and the sponsor of it, AUVSI, which is like the lobbying group for the drone industry, bought out an entire section of Universal Studios, the Harry Potter exhibit area.
Wow.
And at the time, I turned to another lawyer who was there with me, and we're looking at this Harry Potter scene and the castles and whatnot. And I turned to him and I said, you know what they need? They need flying broomsticks. And he nodded and he said to
yeah,
me,
they do.
That's right. They need to just stick them to drones and put these broomsticks on drones, and then we'll have flying drones. And we sort of chuckled, and I tweeted it at the time, thinking that it was a good idea, but sort of like leaving it at that. And that's sort of what happens whenever you're embedded in this drone industry, is you're thinking to yourself, that would be a really good use for a drone, and then you laugh. And then a week later, someone invented it. Yeah. So Disney's patent application is really pretty exciting. They want to take the parades that we're used to seeing, the aerial demonstrations that are usually done by wire or by blimp, or their fireworks displays, and use drones to do all of those things. And so, let me walk through the idea that they have for each of these. So the replacing blimps, replacing inflatable types of things that you see in parades, they think that if they took similar inflatable things but had small drones flying that could move the arms in precise ways, move the face, move the mouth, move the wings of characters in precise ways, that would make for a far more exciting demonstration for the people on the ground. And another part is that Disney shoots off fireworks pretty much every day if you go to Disneyland or Disney World. Yeah. And they try and do these coordinated fireworks shows. They want to replace the fireworks with coordinated light shows where the drones sort of assemble and create, the image of Peter Pan or Tinkerbell in the air, and then in comes Captain Hook swinging a lighted sword, and then Peter Pan flies away, and each of those points of light would be represented by a glowing drone in the sky to create these stunning aerial demonstrations. It's really pretty cool.
It sounds incredibly cool, but is it legally possible? I mean, with the current regulations of drones, could they do any of this?
If they tried to do this today, it would be illegal, because the FAA has basically said that if you are flying drones for commercial purposes without specific authorization from the FAA, it's unlawful. I mean, that's the scope of the FAA's prohibition until later this fall, when they're supposed to promulgate new regulations.
Well, and talk a little bit about the future there and the new regulations. Do you think there's any chance of the rules changing?
So the first challenge with the rules is that the FAA is expected to miss their deadline. They've already missed a few deadlines. Many people close to this think they're also going to miss their deadline in the fall. And so the Congress has directed since 2012 that the FAA needs to start integrating drone aircraft into the national airspace. We're going to be going on more than 2 years now without much movement on that front. And so the second challenge is that even if they hit their timeline, it's not clear that the FAA knows how to innovate. And so what Disney is looking to do is something very innovative. They're looking to use drones in a way that nobody has really thought of before. And so will the FAA have rules in place that will allow them to accommodate whatever type of drone it is that Disney wants to use, and then whatever type of ground control station that would allow them to safely coordinate this activity? I'm hopeful, but I'm not optimistic if that's a possibility.
Well, and in the current FAA regulations, I mean, on the one hand, you could say, oh, they're total fun suckers. On the other hand, they're concerned about people's safety, right? You've got thousands of people at the parks. Based on what you've looked at these patent applications, based on what you're seeing, how relatively safe would something like this be?
It's tough to think of a company that would be more concerned about safety than Disney. Right? I mean, they fire off pyrotechnics every day. They have rides every day that people are on. The other interesting thing about Disney is that after the September 11th attacks, Disney lobbyists convinced Congress to add to an appropriations rider a prohibition on flights above Disneyland or Disney World. And so no aircraft can fly below 3,500 feet within 3 miles of Disneyland or Disney World. So what that means is that Disneyland and Disney World's drones have no possibility of colliding with other aircraft unless those aircraft are operating illegally. And also because Disneyland has so much space, there's little likelihood that they're going to need to fly these things directly above people.
Greg, the concern that's also raised about drones is not just the safety, but also concerns about privacy. If you were working at Disney, how could you allay those sorts of concerns?
Disney's not looking to put cameras on these systems. In fact, it would be against their interest to do so because what they want on these drones is a long flight time. And so there's a weight to battery trade-off. So the more weight that you put on an aircraft, the more fuel, in this case, battery life you have to expend. And so putting a camera on one of these drones would mean that their drones could fly for a shorter period of time. It would hurt their flight time. And so it wouldn't serve their interests to have cameras on these drones, and so it really wouldn't be a privacy threat. The second point is that you have to realize that when you go to Disneyland, you're on camera everywhere you go because of park safety. I mean, they're watching people. They have undercover security guards. They have cameras in the eyes of Mickey Mouse to watch what people are doing in various places. And so if they want to put cameras somewhere, they don't need to put them on drones. There are far more efficient ways for them to place them throughout the park and really get better surveillance capabilities than they would get on a drone.
Greg, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I am married to a Disney Imagineer. I cannot make you any promises, but if I could give you this opportunity to make a suggestion about perhaps future patent applications that Disney could make to use drones at the parks, what would you like to see?
Wow. I mean, the first one that pops to mind for me would be like a Disney, because I just saw the Disney Planes movie with my 3-year-old, would be a Disney Planes exhibit that is like legit Disney Planes characters. So instead of an airplane on the ground that you sort of sit down in, I would love to see reenactments of these scenes, with the Disney planes flying through the air. I mean, that's the first thing that I'd ask for. The second thing I'd ask for is, because your spouse is a Disney Imagineer, as soon as these drones launch, I've got to get into the park to see how they're working. So you got to hook it up.
Well, you know what they say, when you wish upon a star. Greg McNeal is a drone expert and a law professor at Pepperdine University. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thanks for having me.